because I could hang out with seedlings by myself pretty much all day, every day. I've heard farmers that have dairy cows talk about that when, being in the barn with their cows, hearing them eat and being milked and all those things. I definitely feel the same way about seedlings. I could just hang out with them all the day long. Every time I do this, friends, I always question, did I hit the right buttons? It would seem to be that I have. There it is. Hello, Tina. So, my flower friends, I thought tonight would be a great night to do kind of like a seed starting with soil blocking tutorial, and to just kind of go over the steps. And I can remember, I'm talking a long time ago. I had this building, but there was no air conditioning, there was no cooler. It was like the first year. It was built in 2002. So it was probably 2003. And I've always grown a ton of celosia. All of a sudden, I just started having trouble with celosia germination. And then literally, I sat down and reviewed the steps and had figured out that I was having a little problem because of something I was doing. And so it never hurts to just get a refresher, right? All right, flower friends, how are these? Beautiful. This is stock. These are from January 6th. These are 20 days old. There's 100 little seedlings on this tray. And these will be planted mid-February out in my garden because they're a cool season hardy annual, and they're going to be planted during the very early spring. And we'll talk more about all of that here in just a moment. So friends, if we have never met before, my name is Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I'm the owner of the Gardener's Workshop. And on this show tonight, I'm going to be walking you through the indoor seed starting with soil blocking tutorial, and also sharing some of my seedlings with you. They're back there getting ready to show off. And I will be doing a live Q&A at the end of this program. So if you have a question that comes up, please, in the comments, put @Lisa or question mark and type your question, and I will look at those at the very end of the show, right? And so, friends, we have so many new people every single show that we do. So I review the housekeeping each and every time for you if this is your first time here. So first off, I want to just thank all of you that tell your friends about this show. Did you know that you can actually use the share button down at the bottom if you're inside the app and invite a friend and tell them to come on over? There's somebody you know that might want to know more about seed starting. Now's the time to ask them over. And so housekeeping, please double check here in the app your email address and your cell phone number. We need both those pieces of information for shipping. We can't send you a shipping ticket. So when you're checking out, please check and double check there's no typos, right? Now, one of the many benefits of being inside my phone app is we have special shipping rates here inside the app only. Like, for instance, seed packet only orders ship for free. We pay the shipping on those. But we also have a cap on standard product shipping, which is $11.95. Doesn't matter if you buy 1 or 10 pieces. It's $11.95. We do ship to all 50 of the United States, and remember that these special shipping rates only can apply here inside our app. They will not work over on our website. Now, if you have just stumbled upon us on social media, I am so glad that you are here. But what I want you to know is that we have a free phone app, and friends, you can do so much more inside the app. It's free and you can get it really quick. You can jump over right now to your phone's app store, search Gardener's Workshop. I have two apps. I'm inside the Shop app is what you're looking for. It'll take 30 to 60 seconds to download it, and then pop inside and we'll be right here waiting for you. So in addition, you can't, if you're on social, you can type a question, but we can't see it. You have to be in our app for us to be able to see when you want to communicate with us. So you can participate in the Q&A. We have replays that you can watch. You can shop 24/7. And we have a favorites list. And of course, those special shipping rates that I just told you about are only available inside the app. So friends, frequently we do sell out of items that are during the live show. And if you go to a product, want to put it in your cart and it says, sorry, out of stock, you can just hit that get notified. That simply means that if the team is bringing over stock from our big website to the app, then you'll just get a little ding on your phone. Literally, the app and the phone and the website do not talk, y'all. They're not very nice to each other. And so sometimes that frequently happens. So don't hesitate to get notified. And if you guys are seeing, and I see them, if you see sunflowers sprinkled throughout the comments, that is the TGW family sending me love. And that is, who is our family? It is all of our online course students and members of the Flower Farmer Club. And friends, did you know that the doors are open? Membership is open in my private Flower Farmer Club until Friday. If you go over to the Gardener's Workshop, that's our website.com. At the top of every page, it has the link. We have a 7-day free trial going on right now. And I would love to have you join us in there. And actually tomorrow night at 8 o'clock in YouTube and Facebook, I'll be doing, maybe even Instagram, I'll be doing a go inside the club and have a little poke around and see what's in there. Would love for you to join me for that, but you can learn more about it over at thegardenersworkshop.com. And many of these sunflowers that you see are members of my private Flower Farmer Club. All right. So let's talk about why should you start your own seeds. And starting seeds is the difference from being able to plant what you want to grow in your garden and planting whatever you can get down at the garden center. Because what you see available down in stores is a minute fraction of the things that can be grown, right? And really, if you want to grow cut flowers, we know that you have to start from seed. And that is why I start seeds, right? Because I want to have cut flower seeds and I want to have the ones that I want. And that's why I start from seeds. Now, let's do a little seed starting 101. So what is the best way to start seeds? I frequently get asked that. Did you know it's not really up to me or you? It's up to the seed, how it prefers to be started. It's not about what's convenient for you. If you want to have success, that's what we're talking about here, right? And so literally on our seed packets, on the back of every seed packet, it tells you the way the seed prefers. So this says, start seeds indoors 2 to 3 weeks before planting date, or plant seeds directly in the garden. So this is zinnias. And in fact, they can go either way. When you're buying seeds from us, if that's how it is, it has 2 ways to start on the seed packet. We always list the way that I prefer to do it first. That's my first choice, is to always start inside. So it tells you right on the seed packet. We frequently have issues, people having trouble, and they'll say, well, I started them inside, like let's just say larkspur. Larkspur does not do well inside. It needs cool nights and warm days, but a lot of fluctuation. We can't give that to them inside hardly, right? So read your seed packet and know what the seed prefers. And if you want to have the quickest and best results, go with what the seed wants, right? So where do I start seeds? Now, some people prefer to start seeds indoors. Some people that aren't set up for that prefer to have seeds planted out in the garden. And literally, friends, you can, on our website, we tell you right on the seed information which way it goes. So you can decide, oh, that's got to be started inside. I don't want that one. Or I do want that one for that reason, right? So what I'm talking about today are those that we want to start inside. And we use soil blocking as the method most of the time. And I'm just going to show you a few of my, because I just never get to pass up this chance to show off my handiwork, y'all. So I want to show you some seedlings. So I already introduced you to one of my stocks. I think there's 6 more trays of stock in there. Look how beautiful they are. Why are they short and stocky? Because they've been under a grow light, y'all. Why do I have such great germination? Because they were on a seedling heat mat, y'all. All of those things really make a difference. So this is stock. This is January 6th. And these will, I haven't looked at what day of the week it is. Mid-February is when we plant cool season hardy annuals for very early spring. So these will be planted in mid-February. And I wanted to show you, I think we were talking about it on here a couple weeks ago. Somebody asked about didiscus. Didiscus, if you don't know what it is really a beautiful cool season hardy annual. It kind of looks like a pincushion flower, a scabby, but it's flatter, and it's just different. And somebody was asking me, have your seeds sprouted yet? They are so slow, y'all. So these were started January 7th. Same as that stock, right? And look at this. They are just being born. Can you see all these little necks right here? That's the seeds just sprouting. They're just coming up everywhere. I have 3 trays. I have all 3 colors. And so it pays to read your instructions on your seed packet. Also tells you how many days to expect. And it just helps you to know that you haven't screwed something up, right? All right. So let's first look at how I make these soil blocks. And then I'm going to show you a little bit more here. I never have enough room, do I? And it wouldn't matter how much room they gave me. I still wouldn't have enough room. All right, so soil blocking. So let me get where I'm supposed to be here. So I'm going to make some soil blocks, show you how I make them. And let me turn this so you can see a little bit better. You can see, because we mix water with the blocking mix, I like to do it in some kind of tub. This is a potting tray, which we do not sell this, but any low-sided kind of big plastic tray will really work. A cat litter box sometimes will work. And I've already added the water to this mix. And this is a potato masher, y'all. Best tool for mixing your soil as well as incorporating the water into it. And we give you in the recipe, it's always on our website, that it's 3 parts of your dry mix, whether you make it yourself or you use a ready-made mix, and to 1 part water. And that's what I've done here. So this is the blocker. This is one of ours here on the farm. And literally, I hold onto the stationary bar and I push it down into the blocking mix. And I like to do it twice. And I don't know if you noticed, but so I'm pushing it down instead of just pulling it straight up, because the soil is wet. Sometimes it'll vacuum suction the soil out. So I just push it to the side before I pull it up. And then I just use the potato masher to strike off the bottom, make it flat. Now, one of the things that I did when I learned about soil blocking about 30 years ago was really tweaked it into a tabletop method. And part of that is that I use trays with no drainage holes, and they're flat on the bottom so they don't trap water in ridges. So you place the tool on the tray and you just squeeze the plunger, and y'all, sorry buddy, just that quick, we just made 20 little 3/4 inch containers. And that's what our seed will grow in. Now on this little tray, you can put 40 blocks. That means that you can have 40 plants growing. I think this is like 8.5 by 5.5 in a very small space. Now, let me just get this out of here so we can have some working room. I start about most of my seeds in the small block, and I'm gonna sow some seeds for you here in a minute. Even seeds like zinnias and marigolds and cosmos all get started in the small block. So I thought I'd show you some, especially some of the ones that people are surprised These are scabieusis pincushion flowers, and their little seed is in like that little badminton birdie looking thing with the seed in the middle. You just put the pointy end first, and friends, here it is. This is blue cockadee scabieusis pincushion flower. So they're super beautiful. And this is straw flowers, y'all. I grow so many straw flowers. So the whole point of why is it possible for a plant to grow in that little block? You don't start early, you start on time. And these plants, we cut about 1/3 of the growing time off so that the plants, they never get bumped up. We put 1 seed per block. That plant grows up, and this is what gets planted out. I'll show you, what did I do with that tray? Here it is. This is a tray of 20 cress. These are ready to go to the garden, y'all. This is a 5 1/4 inch square tray, and they are ready to roll. 3/4 inch block is what they are actually growing in, y'all. So soil blocking is incredibly space savvy, and by not starting early, they grow up. And I mean, we're going to talk about the timing in a minute, but after all these 30 years, and I've started millions of seeds at this point, I have always learned there is so much more value in starting a little bit later in place of a little bit earlier, because you want your seedling to grow up and be at the right stage and be healthy. If you start early, then they're gonna start to get a little rangy. That happens in anything, but that just takes away, just look at these. I could sit and play with seedlings all day long. I'm gonna break him off. This is, these are the peach straw flower. Look how cute. Now, if this little guy was growing in a plug tray, you couldn't pick it up and handle it at this point. This is one of the reasons you can plant earlier, and there's a little root coming out the bottom. I just absolutely love messing with these things. All right, so where am I? So I showed you how we make them. So here is a soil blocker. This is what they look like new, y'all. We import these from England. The Ladbroke company still makes them. And I use this small 3/4 almost exclusively. And the only time I don't use this size is when the seed just won't fit. Think sweet peas, sunflowers, zucchini, squash, this really big seeds, right? So this is $39.95, and whenever you buy, everything I'm gonna show you is available separately, okay? And whenever you buy a blocker, whether it's in a kit or by itself, it always comes with written instructions and the recipe, right? So that is the small blocker. Now, y'all blew us away this weekend. Wait a minute, I'm in the wrong. Here we go. Y'all blew us away this weekend. We'd had our, see if I can make it ring, deal of the day from the weekend. Did so well that we've extended it through this week. Okay, so we've brought it back. And what is that? The deal of the day is always 20% off some special product. And this week, it is what we call the DIY blocking, what do we call it? This DIY soil block maker kit. So this little kit includes the small blocker, which you just saw me how I used it. But instead of buying soil, you make your own soil blocking mix at home. This is the nutrient mix that comes with it. This is a 50-50 mix of green sand and rock phosphate powder. That's what's important about seed starting mix. The kit also includes our seed pan and the recipe, as well as you add your peat moss or cocoa fiber, whatever your choice is, and compost. We recommend sifting it. You add those products to this nutrient, and you have your blocking mix. This bag will make 12 recipes. One recipe is about like a 6-quart bag of soil, and a 6-quart bag of the blocking mix will make about 500 to 600 of these little blocks, y'all. I mean, it is just such an incredibly efficient way to start your seeds. So This kit is you making your own blocking mix at home. You know, I mix my own soil for like the first 10 years. It is so doable and so easy. And I really recommend this time of the year, you know, just getting your bale of peat moss or cocoa fiber, whatever you're doing, and your bag of compost, and just sift it all. And I keep it in small galvanized trash cans, and I can just scoop out the appropriate amounts, mix it up, and wet it and make blocks. It's just a great outdoor. I mean, I don't think I'd be doing it outdoors now. We're going down to like 9 degrees, I think, tonight. But it's a great winter, sunny afternoon when it's not so cold outside job. Just get enough for the whole season, right? So the DIY kit is 20% off. So normally, I don't know what the normal price is. The sale price is $47.01. So I'm going to guess and say I bet it was about $55 or something. It's 20% more than that price, right? Sorry. And our kits already have a little bit of a discount, usually about 5%. And then when we put it on the deal of the day, y'all, it is really a great opportunity. So you get the blocker, the blocking mix, and the seed pan, which you're going to see me use in a minute, and why that is so important. And you know, I was just sharing with, I had a Q&A with my flower farming club once a month. First Monday, the last Monday of the month, we do a live get together where they ask questions and I answer, and we do so many fun things in there, y'all. Anyway, I did a little mini training before we got started. And one of the things I was talking about was about blocking mix and how much more important it is than we think it is, right? So blocking mix, as you saw, it makes those little containers. And for that little container to hold together, it has to be really dense. It is the complete opposite of regular seed starting mix, like stuff that you just buy off the shelf that says seed starting mix, or even potting mix, right? They're made to go into containers, and because of that, they're made to be really light and fluffy. That way, water and oxygen can move through the soil to get to the roots, right? Well, with soil blocks, that's not the case. They're not in a container. The block is the container. So it has to be dense to hold together. But guess what else that dense does? That denseness of having a dense mix helps it to hold moisture longer, and also the nutrients. Like I posted a picture today of me meeting Elliot Coleman like 10 years ago. And Elliot and I had the opportunity to discuss blocking mix and why is it so important to use these nutrients, the green sand and the rock phosphate. Of course, it's about the nutrients, but it's so much more than that. He was explaining to me, for instance, like the green sand does more than just deliver nutrients. It's part of what helps to deliver the moisture to the actual roots. So blocking mix can really make or break you. So I just wanted to share that that's why we stick to using the blocking mix. And this kit is $47.01, and that will be on 20% off through Thursday. All right, so let's see what we have next here. So we get lots of questions about how do I know how to plant the seeds? So once again, I'm gonna read the instructions. It's all right here on our seed packet. So these are snapdragons. That's a common one that people have trouble with. And it says, do not cover seeds with soil. It says it right here on the seed packet. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. All right, wait a minute, here it is. So, let's take a look. We're gonna take our little blocks here. And so I told you I'd tell you about this pan. This is an aluminum seed pan, and aluminum means there's no static electricity. And if you have ever dumped seeds into like a little plastic, like soft butter dish or something, and you've had to chase the seed around the dish, I mean, it's crazy actually. That was static. When you use a pan that has no static electricity, it is amazing how fast you can go and how much easier it is. So these are Snapdragon seeds. And if I do have a lot of seeds, I just don't dump them all in there. I want them to scatter a little bit because that's what helps make it so easy. We use a toothpick, a little saliva, And I will tell y'all, when we're here by ourselves, we spit in the corner of the tray so we can keep dipping our toothpick. When you have no static electricity and a pan and a toothpick with a little saliva, literally the Snapdragon seed just jumped right onto my toothpick. I push it and wipe. Now, they're not supposed to be covered, right? So you're not pushing them real deep. I don't know how better you can see. Black seeds, black soil. I just touch it. Can y'all see the little seed on the end there? You just firmly seed it. And I tell you what else really helps. Freshly made soil blocks that are really moist, they just grab the seed. And literally, that's the whole story right there. I mean, I could do this all day too. I just love everything about starting seeds. And just this quick, we made and sowed, I often lose my place when I'm talking, 20 little blocks. This seed will grow in this block, and that block is planted in the garden. If you start on time, and the seed packet tells you, you do not need to bump them up, y'all. Okay? So that is how we sow those seeds. Now, we're going to pretend that I didn't just do that because we're going to plant another seed on top of that. I'm going to show you a different way. I better just put these right back in the packet or I'll screw it up. So now I'm going to show you in the same block, same size block, what else I plant. I'm going to show you how to plant zinnias. We frequently get questions about this because zinnia seeds are kind of big. And I'm using some of those that are coated in that clay. The company, the people that send us these seeds coat them. We don't do it. But you can see, if I can get it in my fingers. I was going to try to hold it up so y'all could see it. They're slippery. See how big? Well, they're that one, that one. All right, they're pretty big seeds. So people assume they can't go into the small block. So let's read the zinnia packet. It says, cover seeds with soil. So, to cover the seed with with soil, literally, y'all, so I just put one of the pointy ends in, and I'm just pushing it down in. All that's sticking out is the tail. And that is covering it. The seed is covered with soil. It's down in there. I do this with marigolds, cosmos, zinnias, peppers, tomatoes, any seed that's just not got a lot of thickness and size to it. And that is how we plant all of those. So your seed packet tells you whether to cover it or not. So to cover a seed with soil, with a soil block, you just push it down into the block. That's what provides the darkness and covering it that it actually needs, okay? All right, let's see where we are. So we did that. All right, so let me get rid of these. If I put my stuff away as soon as I finished, I would have more room around here. All right, so let's see what I have up here next. Now, I was going to show you, you can get just the seed pan and these are our handy little toothpick dispenser. It was our 25th anniversary. Comes with toothpicks and the seed pan, and I believe, let me bring that up. It is $2.95, and this little seed pan will liberate you. I'm telling you. I don't like when I do zinnias, like when I'm picking them up, big ones and poking them, I just put them in my hand. Little seeds, I don't care how tiny they are, it just changes how much easier it is to actually do it. So there is that. Now, one of the things that I learned a long time ago is that none of us will ever have enough heat mat and grow light space. And part of making the most out of that is to use the appropriate size tray for the number of blocks that you're actually starting. So like for instance, You know, these green trays are available over on our website. They're not available here in the app. These hold 100, right? So market farmers, over ambitious gardeners, those would be perhaps appropriate. But for many of us, and let's just take me for my vegetable garden, which we don't grow a lot. I grow several different kinds of tomatoes. I don't need many. I just start 20. This little tray will hold one set of 20. These are reusable foam trays, y'all. We do not intend for you to throw these away. We use them for years, literally. Okay, so that's the 5x5 or 5 1/4, holds one set. This is what we call the small. This 5-pack's $1.95. This is $2.95. They all come in 25 packs. This holds 2 sets of 20, or they'll hold, these are my sweet peas that are holding 2 sets of 4 of the large block, because sweet pea seeds are pretty dadgum big. So that's this large. And then this is, that's actually small. This is large. It holds 3 sets of 20. That's what this is. 60 straw flowers growing right there. So all of these are available in 25 packs. And when you don't have wasted space on your tray, like if you only put one set of 20 on here and you set on your heat mat, all of this space is lost. I have so many different size trays, y'all, and it's strictly for that. It's like a puzzle, right? So you can get all of those different sizes. Now, the other thing is, so a lot of people do pretty good at getting their seeds planted, but it's like, what do you do to actually make them sprout? Well, friends, they need 3 things. They need heat, then they're gonna need light, and they're gonna need moisture along the way, right? So, heat, let's talk about that first. Seedling heat mat. So, a seedling heat mat has a built-in thermostat. Let me bring that up. The seedling heat mat has a built-in thermostat which is keyed off of the air temperature. So most seeds, it's a blanket answer here, most seeds germinate when their soil temperature is 75 to 85 degrees. That's what tells the seed to wake up and sprout. So you're probably thinking right now, well, shoot, my house is 72 degrees. I'll probably be fine. Well, if your house is, let's just say 70 degrees. If your house is 70 degrees, then the temperature of the soil, of that little mass of soil, or even a glass of water, is typically 15 to 20 degrees cooler than the air temperature. I mean, if you put your finger on the side of these little blocks that I just made, I mean, they're pretty cold, right? And so a seedling heat mat, guess what? That built-in thermostat heats this up 15 to 20 degrees warmer than the air temperature, right? It's perfect match made in heaven. When we're doing cool season hardy annuals, we typically put a cookie cooling rack on here just to cool it down a little bit, because seeds need a trigger of when to actually break dormancy and wake up. And change of temperature is one of those things. So the heat mat is $39.95, and you leave the trays on the seedling heat mat until you see about 50% of the seeds showing signs of life and cracking. Then you take them off the heat mat and move them to the grow light once that starts to happen. So let's look at one more little tool that I use to help retain the moisture on like surface sown, those snapdragons that I just did, the seeds near the top. It's really easy for it to get dried out. We use wide weave burlap. See how big the holes are? And we don't use plastic. One of the things that I learned early on from Elliot Coleman, it's fine to use domes, but it's just really easy to encourage diseases and fungus like dampening off when all the moisture is being trapped, right? You have to really monitor. Well, I know my limitations. I go in my grow room 1 time a day. It's first thing in the morning, take care of business in there, and then they don't see me till the next morning. So this way of using wide weave burlap where we literally, I thought I had here's a piece. We literally So if I had this, if this tray was full and I had sown all the seeds, you can cut this to size if you'd like. That's what a lot of people do. And you just lay it on your tray. You pull it back to water in the morning, and once you start seeing them crack and sprout, you take the burlap off because you don't want them to pop through the holes. But this traps moisture, but it allows air circulation. So it does a really great job. It's a 3x3 piece. It's $3.95, I believe. Yes, $3.95 for one piece, but you can get a 3-pack for $9.95. And I just find it really, really helpful. Now, so we've warmed them up, and we're gonna keep the moisture from evaporating. Then the next thing is, what we got here? The light. So, why are my plants so nice and short and green and healthy? I mean, look at these guys. Look how short and stocky this stalk is. If they had not been under a grow light for 16 hours a day, they would be so tall, y'all. Why? Because they're stretching for light. So often we put them seedlings on windowsills. We don't even have 16 hours of daylight now, right? And they just stretch and wander and just get really, really rangy looking. So seedlings, let me just pull this a little bit closer. So seedlings need grow light. And so this is our little, really easy to use 24-inch tabletop. Oh, not showing it all. Wrong way. I'm afraid that the plug's not gonna, my cord's not long enough. Sorry, y'all. This little 24-inch grow light, did I even bring it up? I did. You can put 3 of these trays. Now I've pulled it too tight. There. 3 of these trays with 60 on each one. So 4 times 60, y'all, 240 seedlings in a 12 by 24 inch space. And that's why I love soil blocking, y'all. It's pretty dadgum amazing. So the light is, this is not an adjustable light, and it doesn't need to be with our seedlings. It gives a footprint, and it's a little bit warm. I really like warm lights. I have nothing against LEDs, but they're really, really cool. I feel like our transplants really benefit from that little bit of warmth they're getting from the light. It just helps them to grow up. And so when we use the heat mat, we heat them up until they start to sprout. Then once they start to sprout, you remove them from the heat, leave the heat mat, and you put them under the grow light. They're not under the both at the same time, okay? This little grow light is $81.95, and it'll just change everything. First off, it'll fit anywhere. It's just such a great little size, right? And we highly recommend using the timer with it. So how do I provide 16 hours of light a day? Everything's on a timer, y'all. They come on at 6 and go off at 10 p.m. You think you'll remember, but you won't. And it's surprising how quick they start to stretch. Look at this. I showed you this didiscus earlier. Look, can you see how they're all leaning a little bit this way? It's because they were on the heat mat. And the ones that sprouted first were starting to stretch. It happens in hours, y'all. So you don't want to not have a timer. So the timer, the grounded timer is $13.95, and you just set it, and that just takes care of your lights, and you don't even have to think about it again. Now, I saved some seedlings. I didn't water this morning just so I could show you guys how I actually do it. So I love this little long spout watering can, and let me show you. Let me put my stuff back here before I start messing things up. All right, so this is a tray of some billy balls, y'all. Aren't they precious? But I don't know if you can tell, they're dry. I did not water them this morning, saving them just to show you guys how I was gonna water them. So when you're watering soil blocks, you never water directly onto the block. What I like to do is just to kind of water up against the side of the tray. And these are pretty dry, so I know they're gonna take a lot of water. And you kind of learn how much water to actually add. So for me, like for instance, if I was watering this little lineup down here, I would go and water each one of those trays. And then before I'd walk away, I'd stop and put my eye back on each tray, starting with the first one I watered. And to see, I can already tell you this one's gonna need more. And see, is there water left in the tray? If there is, you can simply just gently pour the water off. But this one really needs more water. Let's put more in there. They're pretty dry. So we're gonna let that sit for a minute and then we'll check it. So that's what I would do, is I would water my trays and then I'd go back and it's like, oh look, there's none left there. Wonder if they had enough. And I might give it a little bit more. You never leave standing water in the tray. You can just pour off the excess. People, I think, are afraid to put water in the trays. I like to put a little bit more water than I think they need so that they'll absorb it all. I'll come back in a couple of minutes. Oh, there's a little bit left. I'll just dump it out. But I know that even the blocks in the middle have really gotten well watered. So what happens is I prefer to water in the morning first thing, and then that means my plants go through the day getting a little dry, getting drier, and then by the time nighttime comes, they're dry. You know, they're pretty dry when I come out here in the morning. And guess what they've been doing all night? Those roots have been getting great oxygen, right? Oxygen is as important to roots as water is. People don't realize that. That's why you don't want your stuff wet all the time. So this is the long spout watering can that I think is the perfect watering can for watering soil blocks. It holds 4 cups, it's stainless steel, and it's $29.95, and it is just one of the handiest. We've used these for years, actually decades, and absolutely love it. So I'm gonna let that sit there. It's still absorbent, and funny enough, when they get really dry, it just takes them a little while. So I don't know if I don't want to tilt this and spill water everywhere. And you just have to give it a little bit of time. So we're just going to let that sit there. And I'm going to put this back over here. So how do I feed my seedlings? So I got a great question earlier tonight in my Flower Farmer Club. What in the blocking mix that we have in the recipe, it has what your seeds need to get up and get sprouted. But then I start using Neptune's Harvest seaweed fish every week. Use the houseplant dose, which is 1 tablespoon to a gallon. You can prorate it to whatever volume of water you want. And I do it on Mondays. So just when I'm watering on Mondays, everybody gets a little meal, right? Makes all the difference in the world. You shake it well. This is 18 ounces. It'll last a really long time. You can use it in the garden if you want. You can foliar feed, which just means sprinkling it on the foliage all, or soil drench, which just means you're pouring it on the soil. I love doing this in spring, like early spring, like you've taken your covers off your cool flowers and stuff is starting to grow. You're out there whole weeding and it's kind of like getting ready. That's a perfect time to apply some of the Neptune's seaweed fish. It's pretty stinky, but we love what it actually does for our garden, right? All right, now what we don't normally have here in the club, in the app is I have the expansion kit. The expansion kit is like for the person that may already have a soil blocker, and maybe you have a seed pan or what have you. Let me show you everything you're gonna get in this expansion kit. It's gonna like take you to the next level. So I have to look at the list or I will definitely, first off, let's look at our seedlings. Now look how dark he is. Now he's watered. So let's pour this water back in. And the word is, you just do it gently, y'all, and then your blocks don't slide, but look how happy they are. All right, so we're gonna put that back there. So what comes in this expansion kit? First off, the expansion kit's $199.35. Yeah, that's a lot of money, but have you bought plants lately? That is like not many plants, and this is gonna have you set up to be able to start seeds for all the different seasons. All right, so this is a 12 by 26 inch footprint on your grow light. So this includes the grow light, the expansion kit does. It includes the timer, which you saw me, you plug your grow light into this and set it to come on at 6 a.m. and then to go off at 10 p.m. That's what gives your plants that 16 hours of light a day, which keeps your seedlings short, green, and stocky and healthy, okay? Then we have, this also includes the heat mat. 4 of those trays of 60 will fit on here at one time. I mean, y'all, you can really get your own freight train going. That's what I call it around here, is our freight train of seedlings, because nobody has enough space to start everything they want at one time. That's why we succession plant, and this just fits it perfectly. Neptune, oh, it includes the fertilizer that I just showed you. Love this stuff. And I tell you, nothing is better as your plants are waking up in spring and just starting, you see them emerging and new foliage. To give them a little drink of this is exactly what they are actually looking for. Glad that didn't break. I think I would have had to have ended the show if that would have spilled everywhere. All right, so Neptune's Harvest. And then, look at this, y'all. It also includes a 20-foot by 6.5-foot row cover. This is what we like to, like when you're transplanting out into the garden, how you can protect your seedlings. I mean, that is just a really great insurance policy. So it includes this. I'll never be able to show you all this at once. And then it also includes, guess what? The Bio 360 for a 20-foot bed. I mean, this is like enough to just really get you started in a 20-foot bed. It's got the Bio 360, which is black on one side, a light color on the other. It's biodegradable. It's what we use on our farm here. We make and mold and prepare our beds, and then we put this down and seal the edge with soil or mulch, and it's so easy to poke a hole through. That's what I wanted to show you. So if you've never seen this before, it's light gray or white on one side and black on the other. And y'all, it is just so easy to poke a hole in. It's not like landscape fabric. And this is what we use here. And you can mulch on top of it if you want, but it blocks the light from getting to the weed seeds that are laying in the soil just waiting for that. All right, so you get a 20 by 48 inch piece of bio. Then we also have included a 20-foot piece of the flower support netting. We use this to plant our transplants as a planting grid, but then it later is used as a plant support. We gotta get rid of some of this stuff. Boy, howdy, I am dropping stuff. All right, so the flower support netting, all of this is included in this kit. And wait, there's more. The mosquito bits and the little sticky traps. These mosquito bits are for your watering can on Wednesdays because this kills the larva of fungus gnat. It's labeled for that right there. It's safe to use. We just put it in our watering can, water our trays, and those little nasty gnats that fly around lay their eggs on moist soil. And this kills what's developing in the soil, and the yellow sticky traps, both of these are included, capture the adults, okay? So you're set up, and prevention is the method to that madness, right? What else do we have? And you get a burlap. You get a burlap cover. So all of this, and I'm going to try to hold. This could be scary, y'all. Let's get the big thing. So I got burlap. I got netting. I have the bio. I have the floating row cover. I have the timer. I have the grow light back here. The mosquito bits, the sticky traps. Here's the grow light box. Here is the Neptune's Harvest, which we do not want to drop that. And then here is the heat mat. All of this is in the expansion kit, y'all. $199.35 plus $11.95 shipping. I mean, that's really a deal. And so you get all of these things and you will be set. This is the perfect add-on. If you've already bought a soil blocking kit, this like makes it the rest of the story, right? All right, y'all. So I'm going to have to, I just unfolded the burlap. The girls just shake their head. I'm sure they're watching. Because I'm like leaving a toddler at home, right? Or a raccoon. I'm just rooting around in everything. All right, let's fold this up. Okay, so let's get back down to business here. So it's $199.35, and that is about a 10% savings over buying anything individually. And everything I showed you is available individually if you see something there. So I showed a reel today on social of a flower, and I was telling them to come tonight. And so just in case somebody saw that reel and was wondering about that black-eyed Susan that I showed, it was chimney, because what I said in my reel was, if you are somebody that a pest really chews on your rudbeckia petals, we have problems with that some years. If that's something you just fight, this is the black-eyed Susan to grow. This actually has a fluted petal. It's round, it's like a tube, and pests just don't bother it. And look how awesomely cool it is. So I felt bad about I wasn't gonna do any flower seeds tonight, about showing that, but that's chimney. I mean, my sister and I just love Jewel. You know that we were, I have to tell you this. So Suzanne and I, my sister, traveled all over the East Coast. I would get hired to come speak, and we would take our stuff, a whole van full of mess, set up and sell. Well, we were on our way to Vermont to do this for Mother Earth News, and we had previously met. Y'all watch Barefoot Contessa on Food Network. Anna Garten, actually, I think it is. Anyway, her flower guy, Michael, we met him. He was speaking at Colonial Williamsburg at a garden symposium that I was also speaking at. So we met, kind of hit it off, and he said, if y'all ever come up the coast, please call us. We'd love to have you come to the Hamptons and stay with us. Well, a year passes, and Suzanne and I are going to Vermont to this Mother Earth News, and before we left home, I said, we need to email Michael and see if we can we didn't really have even looked at the map. It's like, we'll just swing in there and say hey to him. So we called him, and he said, oh no, you have to come stay with us. Y'all, he and Jim took us on a tour of the Hampton. His business is that he doesn't do like, I need flowers because, I've had a fight with my wife or something. He does like weekly flowers in those big mansions. It was so incredibly awesome. So incredibly awesome. And I don't know why I started telling you that story, but I thought about it because it was just so incredible to go up there and to be able to see some of the things that we got to see, right? All right. Yeah, that would have been very stinky, Melissa. Okay, so chimney is where we are. Now, if you guys have questions, remember for seed starting, remember, put them in the comments, put @Lisa, and we'll see where we are. Now, I'm going to wrap this up with my books, just because I know we have newbies here. So my book, The Cut Flower Handbook, is the book that literally will answer all your questions about starting a little cutting garden, and how to set it up. And then it also features 66 different flowers. Everything you need to know, which varieties, how to grow them up, how to start them from seed, when to cut them, where to cut them. And so this little book will just take you down that lane. Look at the imaging, y'all. Isn't it just beautiful? My sis took, but this is Godicia, this is Nigella, that's Celosia, and then look at that. This is pumpkin on a stick before it gets orange, y'all. I love it green. I just love it. So the Cut Flower Handbook will really guide you on that. And I'm not going to do this tonight, but I was reading the introductions to my books today. I'm working on a project, and I want to read y'all something from Cool Flowers, but we don't have time to do it tonight. Darn it. I wished I hadn't yammered on. But really sweet stories. So this book, if you are just learning about cool season hardy annuals, you're like, what do you mean you're planting those plants in the middle of February? Isn't it cold where you are? Yeah, we probably have snow on the ground then. But this is what this family of flowers loves. Cool Flowers, my first book, really explains the basic concept and helps you to wrap your head around it. Would love to sign one of these for you. And this little book comes with a video book study. So would love to send one of those your way. And then last but not least, for sure, y'all, the Big Calendar Journal. So the Big Calendar Journal is a whole lot more than just a calendar. This calendar has my guide on how you find for your garden these 9 different planting windows. Then I lead you through how to set up your seed starting schedule. It has these really big months, so you can write on it. And this calendar, which I've used one for 15 years, is what taught me and helped me to just become such a great succession planner. So this calendar is $39.95. We still have some available. Would love for you guys to have one if you haven't already. And the last page in the calendar has my tips on writing on this calendar. We send you my favorite pencil to write with and the string to tie it to your calendar, y'all, so you do not lose it and somebody doesn't write on it with pen. And when you purchase it, you get my workshop walking you through these 9 planting windows so you don't have to go it alone. So $39.95, and it will have you just lined up. You just see all of a sudden how clear succession planting can be, because it's all about counting, y'all, based on your frost dates. It walks you through everything that you need to do. All right, my friends. So let's see where we are. Remember to put your questions in if you have some. All right, so before we wrap up, I want to remind you we have 2 podcasts. We have Field and Garden, which I host, and then we have Seed Talk with Lisa and Lane. And you can connect with both of those on podcast apps wherever you listen, or you can find them on our website. We'd love for you to take a listen. And I will be hosting the Instagram Ask a Flower Farmer this week at 3 o'clock on the Gardener's Workshop Farm. And remember, my friends, this is the live gardening show, and this was a pop-up that I did tonight. This is called an unscheduled Lisa's Gone Rogue kind of thing. And so be sure the notifications are turned on inside your app, so when I do these unscheduled things, you'll know about it. But this normal stuff happens Wednesday at 8 o'clock, and then again on Friday is the big show. On Fridays, we give away usually a $25 store credit, and we just love doing that, y'all. And then look out for pop-ups from me, and I will now answer some questions. But if you're heading out, thank you so much for joining. And reminder, y'all, the Flower Farmer Club is only open until Friday. Now, you can go over to thegardenersworkshop.com. It's at the top of every page. Y'all, I do a masterclass every month in there, a private podcast. We do the Sewing Circle together every Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Once a month, the Flower Farmer Forum. And best of all, we have the community posting board. It's just like Facebook, y'all, but it's not Facebook. There's no ads. It's private in there, and you get to ask me questions, as well as we do challenges, and there's just a lot of fun in there. And we have a 7-day free trial going on right now. So check that out at thegardenersworkshop.com. All right, so now I am going to see about questions. Gosh, there's a lot of y'all in here. All right. We do not, sell the guide without the calendar. We're working on all that kind of stuff, but because you're not the first person to ask. Y'all will be the first to know. Yes, I had 2 cows. I called it my downtime. Even in the freezing cold, it was just calm and peaceful, Brittany. I mean, do you know how many times, my house has been under construction. It was under construction during the whole time I was writing the Cut Flower Handbook. I mean, a big addition and just anyway, a lot. Oh my gosh, if they couldn't find me, they knew where I was. I was in that darn seedling room. I would just love to sit there. Hello, everybody. Mount Vernon, Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, Maine with 18 inches of snow. Oh, Baltimore, 10 inches. Wowza. Lisa, your stock looks great. Mine is tipping over. Do you know why that could be? It might be stretching for light. Y'all, it's like such a fine line to dance. So light probably needs to be maybe closer, but also for stock particularly, it doesn't like warm air temperatures. Like right now, I tell you, I like about killed half of my eucalyptus. I've got it on a seedling heat. I'm not even going to tell y'all what I'm doing because it's not the right thing to do. But stock likes cooler air temps. So you don't want it to be next to your eucalyptus, which needs hot, warm air temperatures. But cool it down. Put it on the bottom of your rack, maybe if you have a rack. Put it on the bottom and the warm stuff on the top. But that could be it. Hello, everybody. Oh, Donna's been working on a calendar. Been following you on YouTube for a year and just got the app this evening. Nicely put together app. Well, thank you, Barbara. I have stock. I planted on 1/6. Oh, cool, Amy. So Kathy says that she's always grown in trays and she can't wait to start soil blocking. Let me just warn you, you will never go back. I mean, it is quicker, faster, superior seedlings. They don't get root transplant shock. They don't get root bound. And you just don't even know why you didn't find it sooner. That's the way I felt. Look at all those sunflowers. Yes, soil blocking is definitely space saving. Thank you, everybody, for such nice words. Does your big calendar work for vegetables and herbs too, or just for flowers? So, Jennifer, it's certainly not made for vegetables and herbs. However, there are definitely cool season hardy annual and warm season herbs, right? Annuals, they would follow the same planting windows, right? Just a little bit of difference, so it could. My straw flowers aren't germinating as well as my others. I have them on the seedling heat mats. Only a few of them have sprouted on the tray. By the time others sprout, I'm worried that the few that have sprouted will die from staying on the heat. So, Brittany, if they've been on the heat more than like 5 to 7 days, I would move them over to the grow light. And because I've actually done that. And straw flowers are pretty famous for doing that. You know, like having some real laggers. The ones I have out here, like for instance, you can tell, looking at the sides of these, this one and 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 that one sprouted before all these others did. So I just got frustrated because look how long that one is. And just moved it over to the grow light. They'll come along. That's what I would do. Yeah, seed rack is full. That's the story of my life, Melissa. And less plastic. Yep, great. Oh, thank you, Rhonda. If you have leftover seed starting mix, can you keep it the following year, or are there components that diminish with time? Laurie Ann, no, you can keep it. It just needs to be dried out. So like the tray that I keep it in, I would never like scoop it up and put it into a container with the top. We just let it dry out in there and just put it on a shelf somewhere. It'll be fine. I'm out of room, need more lights. I just put some seeds out to winter. So yeah, there's never enough light, y'all. I prefer the soil blocking as I like to watch them and talk to them when, yeah. I started rocket snaps last week and they are starting to crack open. It's so exciting. My first time growing them. Oh, I know exactly that feeling. I just started snaps this week and already have fall planted some as well. Then you're going to be knee deep. Great products and customer service. Thank you. I love the seed pan. It is a game changer. Melissa, I do love the sourdough tip. Lisa, do you start tomatoes and peppers in the 3/4 inch and then bump them? Yes, Tina, I do. And I start them in the small one because you get a higher rate of germination. doesn't take up as much space until they're bigger. And so I transplant them at about 2 to 3 weeks. If you have LED lights that don't give off heat, would you recommend any supplemental heat with a heat mat? No, I would not. I mean, you want to heat the air temperature up, but a heat mat would be too direct on the heat on the seedlings. So no, I would not use a heat mat under a grow light. So the blocks are either 3/4 inch, which are all the small ones, and I use the 2-inch blocker for those sweet peas. Lisa, do you water soil blocks before germination the same way as seedlings? Every morning, the heat mat, because they're on the seedling heat mat, on cookie racks, they're all dry. So yes, they get watered every single morning, but they do not get fertilizer. Lisa, I have a hanging grow light. How far away from the seedling should it be? Debbie, it will depend on what type of light it is. So you have to put your fingers, a hand under there and feel how hot it is. If it gives off, if it's a T5, which is what ours is here. That's why it's kind of so far away, because it gets pretty warm. But if it happens to be an old style T8 or T12, they're just warm and they can really be close. So you have to really do a test. How soon do you give Neptune fertilizer to seedlings? That's a good question, Judy. As soon as everybody under the grow lights gets Neptune harvest. And that would have been stinky. All right. Thank you all. I saw some of your other kits are sold out. When will they be restocked? I placed my email to be notified. So if you're talking about the soil block maker kit, we're waiting on small bags of soil. And as soon as, let me tell you, that's the #1 product we sell this time of the year. So as soon as we get it, you will get notified. So thanks for doing that. How close to the soil do the grow lights need to be? I think I just answered that. I want milkweed for butterflies. I have never started milkweed from seed. Not milkweed, your common milkweed. And so soil blocking will work for any seed. You just have to find out what conditions that needs. Can you lay the floating row cover on top of seedlings, or do you have to use hoops? That's why it's called floating. It is the lightest weight, so you can, for short-term use, like a couple of weeks, you can lay it down. For long-term use, we recommend hoops. I got my calendar. Congrats, Amy. Oh, that big, beautiful calendar. I so agree. I have to get the calendar. I have tried to use AI to help me. No comparison. Ordering tonight. Susan, I use AI. My company uses AI. But let me just tell you, it is a tool to use. But it doesn't know. Do you know that there's actually books that are published and being sold in the big bookseller about our subject, flower farming, that was written by AI? If you try to read them, they'll run you in circles. It's horrible. It's horrible. They can definitely, AI helps us so much, but it's not the end of the story. So yeah, don't depend on AI for important stuff like that. For not this kind of specific stuff. Yes, anyway. How do you harden off transplants in mid-February? Great question, Alma. So we wait for sunny days and put them outside. I have a covered carport, and then we're going to hoop and cover them as soon as they're planted out in the garden. And when you hoop and cover, that's like part of the hardening off process. When do you start the fish emulsion? As soon as everybody under the grow light gets it. I have a greenhouse, so I can skip the grow light. And is there anything special I need to do or anything prevention because they're in a greenhouse? Janet, in fact, the problem with a greenhouse this time of the year is there's not 16 hours of light. A lot of growers actually have grow lights for this time of the year. But I haven't grown in houses, so I can't help you there. Oh, Jenny, thank you. I'm filling out my calendar. When would you recommend starting seeds for pumpkin on a stick and spinning gourd so they're ready for the fall? What a good question. So I would look at, and this is where you would look at on your calendar, I would consider the second or the third warm season planting, depending on what your first frost date is. Look on your seed packet. What is from seed to bloom, which would be to fruit, right? And let's just say it's, I don't know what it is, but let's just say it's 60 days. I'm sure that's not enough. And you want to have them for the 1st of October. So you would count back 60 days. And I would probably go 2 weeks earlier than that. You know what I mean? You want them to be ready. You'd rather than be ready earlier than later. You don't want to miss your chance, right? So you take the days to bloom, and I think it tells you that on the calendar, and count backwards. And then add time for harvest. But that's probably the 2nd or the 3rd. Oh, thank you, Susan. She says the flower farming club is amazing. Lisa's club is the best thing I joined. So much information. Thank you. Another Susan. 2 Susans. And you know what, Susans, if you haven't already, to go over to our website. It's not possible on the app. Go on our website and go to the club page. It's at the top. You can get to it at the top of every page. And post that in a review, please. That'll help people. They just don't know what to, people just don't know. Does the calendar, I've already answered that. The peat moss is much better to use than the cocoa. I agree with that. Lisa, tell us what you're doing with eucalyptus. That's not the right thing to do in case we're doing it too. So because I tried to leave my eucalyptus in my cool flower growing room. So I put the seedling heat mat underneath my 2 eucalyptus trays with a towel under it to help cool it down a little bit. And it was just dried them out. They were kind of young, small, and in a 24-hour period, I just lost some of them. They just got way too dry. Lisa, when you were starting out years ago, how did you decide on what seeds to buy and how much of each kind? I feel like seed inventory is hard for me. I really enjoy soil blocking. Well, Amber, I'm glad you enjoy it. And it's a struggle that we all face. So literally, when you lay out your succession plan for your garden, you should know, you see the spacing, you know how many plants you need for each planting. And then we bump it 20 to 50% depending on the seed. Cheaper the seed, I go to 50%. I want to have more seedlings to pick from, right? So I double it. And then you add up your seeds that you need. I mean, it's best to just buy as much seed at one time as you can, just so you don't miss out on some. And then just store them properly. But that is the oldest problem that farmers will go to our graves with, struggling with seed inventory. But that's literally it. It's so much simpler. It's like you lay out your succession plan and you see what space you have and how you're going to be laying it out. And then you can just go to town with your seed starting with your planting window time, and then you'll know how much of what you want to plant. And that's what we do. Lisa, my crest green dragon only had 1 germinate. It's been on the heat since January 18th. Take it off. Should I add more seeds or move to light? I would move it to light. We had great germination. It is slow. It is very slow. I don't have a seed packet to read, but it is really slow. I mean, if it's been, you said you only had 1. I don't have those trays in here. But we had excellent germination, but I will tell you, I would just take it off the heat, set it under grow light, be sure you water it, and you're going to come out one day and it's going to just all be sprouted. I'm telling you, that's what happened to me. I am buying every book you recommend slowly but surely. So, all right, my friends, I am going to go and cook a couple hamburgers for my husband and I. Y'all didn't know this, but I don't have a kitchen. I've been without a kitchen since December 1st. It was gutted and remodeled. It's the last part of our big project for our home. And I have a nice laundry room that has a sink, and we're all set up in there. But anyway, makes cooking it's like I'm camping out. That's basically what it's like. So I'm going to go in. I'm living off of a electric skillet, an air fryer, and a microwave. And I'm going to go in and flip some burgers. It's going to be good. So my friends, remember Flower Farmer Club's open until Friday. See you tomorrow night. I'm doing an inside peek inside the club. If that interests you, it'll be on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Then Wednesday, pop-up. I might even do another pop-up tomorrow, y'all. It's that time of year. All right, my friends.